Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, Atlanta. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Tester. This is where we enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. As you know, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we want to fire you up about the dream versus the job. Following your dream while working a full-time job. My guest today is Denise Turney, and she is out of the Atlanta area, so we are happy to have her on the show today. Let me tell you a little bit more about Denise. Denise is a professional speaker and writer who brings more than 30 years of book, newspaper, magazine, radio, and business speaking and writing to a project. She has been listed in various entertainment and business directories, including industry leaders such as Who's Who, 100 Most Admired African American Women, and Crosswalk. Denise's work has appeared in The Parade, Essence, Ebony, Madame Noir, We the People, The Trenton Times, the Pittsburgh Quarterly, and the Obsidian 2. Now, this talented worker speaker is the author of the books Portia, Long Walk Up, Spiral, Love Has Many Faces, Rosetta's Great Hope, Gada's, I hope I'm saying that right, Gada's Glory, and Love Pour Over Me, which is her newest book. Well, her books are available in ebook format as well as in print format, and you can find them both online and offline. Online, of course, at Barnes & Noble's, Amazon, CushCity.com, ebook it, Google Books, iTunes, and Ingram Books as well. So without any further ado, let's go on and bring Denise on the line. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you, Denise? How are you?
Good morning, and good morning, Atlanta, and Dr. Chester. I am blessed and happy to be here, and thank you for that awesome introduction. I appreciate it, and happy to be here.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for being on the show and sharing with our audience today, and I think they are in for some nuggets. So how did you do so many things. So being a fellow author, I would love to, of course, talk about your books and how you have transitioned into that. So my first question for you is, how did you decide that you wanted to become a writer?
You know, that is a very interesting question, and for me, and I've heard other authors talk about how they transitioned into that awareness. For me, that came when I was a child. I was 10 years old, and I loved to read. I started reading. I was a voracious reader starting when I was maybe 5, 6 years old. I could not read enough books. And it got to the point when I was a kid, I was reading 30 to 40 books a week. And so when I was 10 years old, the library was one of my favorite places, the library or the bookstore. And my sister came home with a book that for some reason I didn't know, why didn't I see this book? She wasn't she's a school teacher now, but my sister wasn't the one who loved to read the way I did. So she comes home with this book and she throws it on the bed. And I was in a bad mood that day, and we shared a bedroom. We were little kids. And she said, I'm going back outside to play, and she runs back down the stairs. I don't think she ever read that book. I really think that was meant to happen. I pick it up, and it's by Gwendolyn Brooks. And back then, there weren't a lot of books in the bookstore with African-American authors. I think there was Toni Morrison, Maya Angelou, Gwendolyn Brooks, and maybe a few other African-American writers published in mainstream, and that was it. So I'm like, why didn't I see this book in the library? But I read it, and it was a book of poetry by her, and I can't remember which one of her poetry books it was, but that was the very first time in my life that I ever read a book where everything came alive. I can't explain to you the experience. It was like I was reading, and I remember thinking the character she was talking about, I said, oh, this could be my aunt, or this could be my neighbor, or my friend, or my cousin, and it just came so alive. And I put the book down. It was a different experience from years of reading, and it came up from within me that I was a writer, and that's how I started writing.
I love that story. And isn't it amazing how, and I know that you already understand this, but, there's nothing like a well-written book. Between the great writing and one's imagination and understanding of the words on the page, boy, can it just really take you, into the story and take you to this wonderful place. It really is a great way to spend your time. Well, there are some people that are thinking about becoming writers or authors of a book or a novelist, because people call what they want to be, different things. And they're having a hard time with, well, I have this full-time job. I need this paycheck, but I really have a passion for writing. Is there anything that you can tell them to help them prepare for the transition of going into full-time writing?
Okay, a few things I would suggest, particularly, it depends on the type of writing. I also do freelance writing, and I actually make more money from my freelance writing for corporate and other clients than I do with the novel writing. So you have one form might be, you can work it into your major income, which is what I am striving to do right now, because I would love to earn a full-time living writing novels. But what I would say to a person is do your research first. If I said that 1,000 times, it wouldn't be enough. If you want to do book publishing, there are people out here who will overprice things, or if you're doing freelance writing, you want to do that as a full-time. You want to leave your current job and go into a full-time, or maybe you don't work right now and you want to go into writing full-time. Do your research. So let me approach it from two angles. If you want to do it as a freelance writer, and so here's some examples of freelance writing. You blog writing, you're doing articles, you're doing Q&A, you're doing feature interviews, you're doing slideshows, you're doing video scripts, you're doing ads. These are what I mean when I say freelance writing. Your magazine writing, but freelance, not as an employee with a magazine or a newspaper. So you have you have various clients. Do your research, and from that angle, find out what the rates are, at least the low rates, the average, and the high rates. And there are websites, and the name of one doesn't pop to my head, but there are websites, official websites for writers that list that out. So you can see if you're being paid properly. Pay attention to, are you going to get paid by the project or by word count or by the hour? Myself, sometimes I think word count is better. But if you are working on a project that takes a long time and they tell you they're going to pay you $1,500 for it, but you end up only making, I don't know, $8, $9 an hour because of the time commitment, then you have to go back and reassess. So pay attention to how you're getting paid. Do your research. Research the companies before you work with them. Easier companies, this is not just with writing, but non-writing. I find that startups are some of the easiest companies to get into, but you might work a lot. The pay may not be as high as you want it to be at first. But make sure the person starting that company is ethical, they're serious about their business. You're not going to work for them for a little while and a company folds, so that type of thing. Freelance writing, again, you want to do it full-time. I would also recommend you get a minimum of 12 clients. I read that from a writer who left a corporate job, and I think she was a corporate attorney. She left her job, and she said minimum she made over, her goal was $250,000 a year, which she hit, and she may have surpassed it just from writing, $250,000 a year. Most of hers came from technical writing, but she said 12 clients minimum, because clients are going to come, clients are going to go. Clients are going to come. True. Clients are going to go. As a novel, so that's one side. As a either a nonfiction writer or a fiction writer, research the book publishing industry, research distributors, knowing what generally the percentage they take. On average, it's 55%. They're getting that, whether you self-publish or you go through a mainstream publisher. So understand your royalties. If you go through a mainstream publisher, your royalties are going to be lower because the publisher's got to get paid, the editor's got to get paid, the marketing manager's got to get paid. the bookstore's got to get paid, and the distributor's got to get paid. And so you're going to get a smaller chunk of the pie. So do your research and start marketing your book early. And another thing I would say, if you want to go from your job to working in your dream, go easy. Unless the Lord guides you otherwise, I would go easy. In other words, start working it now while you still have your full-time job. Start looking at this job as more your full-time and your current job as your like your subsidy job. And then see how it progresses for you. See how the money goes. Don't go in blindly. I wouldn't just jump unless the Lord told me to, because I don't want to recommend that to anybody. You can get out here and hustle for years and it not take off. So go, just take those slow steps. Be honest with yourself. I keep a spreadsheet so you don't tell yourself you're doing more work than you are or you're making more money than you are. Put it right in your face so you don't start lying to yourself. So those are some tips that I would share.
No, those are absolutely positively great tips, and I love it. Put it in your face so that you're not lying to yourself. And I think that that's many times why we tell people to write things down, other than the fact that Scripture says it as well. But we tell you to write it down because in your head you can rationalize things, you can inflate things, you make things, beautiful in your head. But when you write it down and the facts are on that piece of paper in front of you, it really does make a difference. And the bit of advice that you gave about working your dream while you're still on your job, everyone that I know, including myself, we were working our dream while we were still on the job. We gave ourselves a time frame. So you are definitely speaking truth to life there. That's right. I worked 1 year. I knew what my date was going to be, and it was, here I go, I'm leaving, this is what I'm off to do. So that is great advice. Well, it is almost time for us to go to break, and I want to make sure, Denise, that people are able to find you on the internet, or if you're on any social media or anything like that. Can you let our listeners know, where can we find you?
Well, first of all, thank you. And my website, I would love for everybody to go over there because there's a lot of information, not only about my books. There's information about upcoming writers' conferences that I don't have anything to do with, but just to help support other authors.
Yeah.
And my website is Chistel.com. So the www.chistel, CHISTELL.com. C as in Charlie, CHISTELL.com. My books, ebook and print, Amazon, ebook it. Some of my books over at cushcity.com, which is an African-American, I think it's the largest African-American online book site. But those are three primary places where you can find my books. You can also purchase them directly through me at Chistel.com, and I use PayPal.
Alrighty, listeners, you heard what to do. But don't worry, we're going to come back and finish speaking with Denise about the other projects that she has going on as well. We'll be back right after this.
Are you ready to ignite your Christianity? Grab your copy of this amazing new book called A Heart Aflame, 10 Days to Ignition by top author John Willis Williams Jr. This book will give you the spiritual passion you need and will get you moving forward in your faith. This book will be hard to put down. It's now available at Amazon, iTunes, and Barnes & Noble. A Heart Aflame by John Willis Williams Jr. Get your copy today.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Chester. Today, my guest is Denise Turney, and of course, she is a writer from the Atlanta, GA area. We are talking the dream versus the job, how following your dream while working a full-time job. And that's right, folks. There are many people out there that are following their dreams while they're still working that job. So we're talking transition, we're talking following your dreams. So Denise, there are some people out there that are struggling with trying to, work their job, pursue their dreams. They're getting a little frustrated. They've been trying to do it, and they don't know if they're successful at it or not. Everybody's in their ear, and there's always that one person that's going to say, well, forget your dreams. Just get this guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks, week, whatever it is. What do you say to the people that say, why don't you just abandon your dreams?
I think if the dream is put in you, and that's a great question, if the dream is put in you by our Creator, by God, you're not going to be able to abandon it. I really believe that. It's a part of your DNA. It's a part of your physical DNA. I'm not saying eternal, but your physical DNA for this time that you're here in this earth. You're not going to be able to shake it. And I have met people who have told me that they knew the Lord wanted them to do something. And they said the longest somebody told me they ran was 21 years. And I was working at the College of New Jersey. And I asked this professor why he was leaving. We're talking about abandoning your dream and the dream that God gave you. And I asked him, why are you leaving 21 years in? And he was an awesome professor, awesome record there with the college. Why would you leave this? And he said, I can't run from the Lord no more. 21 years. Wow. So So if it's a dream God gave you, it's not going away. So that would be my number one reason not to abandon your dream, because it's going to keep popping up. You might have periods where you don't think about it. It doesn't bother you, but it is not going away. I couldn't say that enough. It's going to keep coming up. You might go 2 years and you don't even think about it, and then poof, it comes again. The second person I met was 10 years. They told me, I can't run from the Lord no more. I cannot do it anymore. Putting up a fight, really. And it's like, it's not going away. So that's the number one reason. And how many people, for the listeners, to each listener, do you know, listener, how many people when they're in their older years tell you they still remember that dream that they didn't pursue, and they still remember it. And they say that it's the main disappointment that we have as humans when we know we're getting ready to leave this earth. I knew I should have done, and knew it for 50 or more years, but I kept talking myself out of it. A dream from God never goes away. So that's the number one reason why I would work that dream. And something in you probably is going to feel, maybe, who knows, disappointed. And you won't feel that spark for life because you're not fulfilling your mission. You're not doing what it is. And other people telling you what you can't do, they're only telling you what they think they can't do. They don't know what you can and can't do.
Exactly. People always project their limitations onto you. You said that. Thank you so much. Matter of fact, for dropping that nugget, because somebody needed to hear that. Now, can you share some actions that you can suggest on how people can juggle writing, following their passion while still working their full-time job? Are there any tricks to it, or is it just planning?
I think a lot of it is time management, definitely planning and organization. And another thing, I heard this years ago. This is not something I've wrestled with, but it just popped into my mind, so I'm going to say it. Some people struggle with procrastination. Fortunately, I don't, but some people do. And procrastination, I recently heard, people put things off because they think they're going to fail. So if you never finish it, you really don't know. And a failure, when you're trying your best, I don't even think exists. You just are learning another way. You just have to learn another way to do it. So it's not a failure. You just have to keep trying till you find the right way to do it. It's like trying to unlock a door, and you maybe something wrong with the door. You have to jiggle the knob or do different things. It's not that you're failing, that you don't unlock it the first time. keep trying, because if the door can get open, you can open it if you don't stop trying. So try to work on the procrastination if that's something that you deal with in your life first, and then work on time management skills. You need to manage your time, and this is what I do. Again, I use an Excel spreadsheet. You could get another tool, but I track when I'm writing on a project how long it takes me to get things done. That, again, goes back to letting me know what my pay rate really is. I track how often, every single day, I'm looking for a freelance writing job, even if I already have 8 of them, because they come and they go. So I track how much time I'm doing that, because I found out when I started juggling too that I thought I was doing a lot more than I was doing. And somehow in our minds, we play a little head tricks with ourselves. So I started working with a spreadsheet. So it's clear, it's right there. I encourage you to do that. And try to limit your excuses. Don't you may have to get up earlier. So let's say right now you get up at 7 to go to work. You might have to get up at 6. Just knock out that extra hour to get something done, whether it's scheduling meetings, whether it's getting the outline or the template done for a project you're going to work on, whether it's lining up against some calls that you're going to make. So let's say you make 3 calls a day, and also approaching it by kind of cutting it up. You don't want to look at what you have to do for the whole month like you have to get it all done in 1 or 2 days. Start chopping it up. If you make 3 calls a day, if you're trying to get, and you're in a business, you need to make sales, 3 calls a day is very manageable versus telling yourself you got to make 1,000 calls for the whole year. That number 1,000 might be too overwhelming. So break it down, and your time management, keep yourself accountable with a spreadsheet. If you're still struggling, you might even consider working with a life coach, somebody who you share your goal with, and they can help get you on track. Not only that, they can give you ideals for ways you can get unstuck, or maybe have you tried this, have you tried that, and give you ideas that you hadn't thought of. Another thing some people I've heard do, they'll get with a group of people who have a similar, maybe not a similar goal, as in they may all not want to be a writer, or they might not all want to be start their own marketing agency, or their own employment agency, or their own some type of digital firm, whether it's dealing with video games or what. But that can be different. But their goal of being an entrepreneur who makes at least 6 figures a year or more is a common theme that they have. And they will get together and brainstorm and share ideals. That's another thing that you can do to help move forward. But time management, organization, work on procrastination. If you procrastinate, break things down into a daily, what you're going to do every day. Be committed to putting in, maybe getting up an extra hour early, working your dream while you're on your job lunch break, taking advantage of educational opportunities at your job, because a lot of jobs have free online trainings you could take. You could take things in emotional intelligence, marketing, public speaking, how to negotiate. Take advantage of those to help you while you're juggling your job and your dream. And also solicit your family and your friends for some more support. If you have young children, to help out with caring for the children while you juggle your job and your dream.
So it sounds like part of the things that people need to do is that they really need to get in a positive headspace, is that they need to realize that positive thinking also helps with with the goal achievement.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. You don't want to go in thinking that I can't do it. Then it's like, why bother? So you definitely want to believe I can make some progress and take some steps forward. And track your progress. Track it. Track your progress.
Now, I know that one thing that you've mentioned several times, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a wonderful way. When someone says something over and over again, it is important. The same way that it's in Scripture, it keeps getting mentioned. That means we need to pay attention to it. And one of the words that you keep saying is research. That we need to make sure that we do our due diligence when it comes to what you want to do before you take the next step. Should people research just the area that they're interested in, do you think, or should they do a very broad search when it comes to stepping out, to leaving that full-time job? Like you mentioned, being a freelance writer versus just writing novels. How broad of a research area should they do?
I would zone in on researching the actual type of work that the person wants to do. And this just popped into my head as well. If you can, and there is someone, I don't know if it was Kathy Hughes or who it was who said this, but there's somebody who made it big in media who said a lot of people undervalue internships, and that just popped into my head. Corporations use them all the time. So you're talking about research. You want to research, I would really zone in on what it is I think I want to do. But just in case you find out, oh, I don't really like this, take advantage of internships. Take advantage of internships, because that way you'll really know, this is not really what I want to do. So you don't put a lot of time, invest a lot of time and effort and money into something that you don't even really find out that you don't enjoy. So that's another thing. Not only taking advantage of internships, which is a great form of hands-on research, you can start making those relationships and those connections. You can start doing internships, meeting very senior level people who are influencers and they're decision makers. You can do that through internships as well. And the person who I heard say this said, a lot of people are turned off by internships, especially if they're free, especially if you're not going to get paid. But, oh, my goodness, you talk about research, hands-on research, experience, connections, getting to meet decision makers one-on-one. These are very influential people. Internships are one of the great ways to do that. But I would zone in on what it is I want to do. And then also you want to start researching your competition. You want to see if the market is saturated. It might be overly saturated. And if it is, it may be hard, not impossible, but hard to really make an impression because there's so many other people who are already doing what you are trying to do. They say the best thing to do is to come out with something original. From Amazon.com, we know that's true. From Facebook, we know that's true. From we could go on and on and on. Microsoft, everybody was focused on hardware and technology. Bill Gates said code and software is where it's going, and he jumped on that and he took off. So to be somebody who's an originator is kind of maybe a little scary because you don't really have a lot of other research to look at for where you want to go, but just researching then your industry, your market, and having that vision and the courage to drive that vision forward. You can do research, thankfully, online. There are a lot of resources online, and then your library, the research section at your library. Universities are great resources to do research, and then again online. Also talk to people who are already doing what it is you want to do. And not only already doing it, but have been doing it for several years. They can tell you about the startup process when you're in the middle of it and when you've become seasoned, things that generally happen, what you can expect, and how you can prepare when you reach those stages. I would definitely join a group of people who are already doing what you want to do, because you're going to get a whole lot of tips and advice that you wouldn't get probably out of any book.
Well, you heard it there, listeners. Have the courage to keep going. Well, we have to go to a very short break, but when we get back, we're going to keep getting these nuggets of wisdom about the job versus the dream. We'll be back right after this.
Are you ready to ignite your Christianity? Grab your copy of this amazing new book called A Heart Aflame, 10 Days to Ignition by top author John Willis Jr. This book will give you the spiritual passion you need and will get you moving forward in your faith. This book will be hard to put down. It's now available at Amazon, iTunes, and Barnes & Noble. A Heart Aflame by John Willis Jr. Get your copy today.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Chester. My guest today is Denise Turney. She is a writer out of the Atlanta area. And we are talking the dream versus the job, following your dream while working a full-time job. There are so many people out there today that are still, on that job, but they want to break free and pursue their passions. That's what we're talking about today. So, Denise, tell me about some of the benefits of pursuing a dream, even if you are still working your full-time job.
Okay, well, you ask amazing questions. You guys, awesome questions. So thank you for that. Some of the benefits at the top of the list, and listeners may already have this one in their mind at the top of the list. You have an expanded income. I don't care if you only make an extra $100 a month from your dream. Right now, you're starting out. That's an extra $100 a month. And then if you manage that right, you can grow that extra $100 a month, whether you put it in an interest-bearing account or you start to invest it in the stock market, but you do it safely. You can watch that grow. So that's an immediately expanded income is one of the benefits. You're learning as well. You're going to gain some skills when you go after your dream. You're going to gain some skills and learn some things that you can use on your job that might even help you to get a promotion on your job. So for an example, let's say you're going after a dream and to start to network and get out there and meet people who are influencers or decision makers in your field or the industry that your dream is in. You have to speak. So you're invited to a forum to speak at a forum. You're invited to speak at Spelman or Clark or Morehouse or some other school, or maybe even at another company. You're building your communication, your speaking skills. That might benefit you also on your job until you leave your job. You might get a promotion or bigger salary on your job based off of these soft and hard skills that you get from pursuing your dream. That extra money from your job might help you step into your job full time in a shorter amount of time. So those are just some of the benefits. And then another one, as you pursue your dream, if you're serious and passionate about pursuing your dream, and you know you can do this, you're going to meet people, and I can tell you this with my own personal experience, you probably never, ever, ever would have met if you never went after your dream. And I mean, if I told you some of the people I've met and talked to that you see on TV every day, that have been in magazines and newspapers, and people would go, oh, my gosh. I mean, I would have never met those people if I hadn't gone after my dream. So they say the sky's the limit. There is no limit. You just, I think it is truly worth it. You can take small steps, and there is no reason I can see not to pursue a dream. There's no reason. There's no reason not to get it started. Even if you just get it started and maybe your child or somebody takes it even further, because that happens in a lot of wealthy families. You get it started and somebody else in the family takes it even further. You could be blessing your whole family for generations if you go after your dream. That
was such an important statement right there, because there's someone right now that, yes, you are going to be the person that establishes that generational business in your family. That is so awesome. Now, I want to talk a little bit about your books because we haven't really focused in on them a little bit. I know that your newest book is Love Pour Over Me. Can you tell us a little bit more about that book?
I would love to. Love Pour Over Me is a book, and I have some of my favorite stories, and I know the author, you're not supposed to have your favorites. I wrote this story. There's a father in here, and when I went out to readers just to get their post on the story before it was published, they hated the father. His name is Malcolm, and his son's name is Raymond, and they live in Ohio. Raymond is an outstanding middle-distance track runner. For those not familiar with track, we're talking the quarter mile and the half mile, or the 400 meters, 800 meters. So he's outstanding at this, and he's also academically above. I mean, he's just a stellar all the way around, which is amazing considering his childhood and his past. His mother left him when he was 2. She got caught up with another guy who played in the NFL and decided she wanted to go with him. She leaves Raymond. He's an only child. And Raymond's father, he goes deeper and deeper into alcoholism, which is untreated for years. And poor little Raymond he's just the one to take the shots. That when his dad is particularly sick. And even when he's sober, he's not even averagely kind. So he goes through all this, and he comes up in a hard type of neighborhood in Ohio, but he makes it. He makes it. But he's got his scars, because you go through things like that for years, you're going to have your wounds and your scars. And so he goes to college. He gets a scholarship. He could either stay and go to Ohio State, where his father would prefer that he go, or he can go someplace else. And I really don't want to tell too much of the story, but he decides he's getting away from Dad, and he can't wait to do it. So he goes to college in Pennsylvania, and he's not there long. There's a murder mystery tucked into the story. He just happens to witness something, and then he's caught into that. But he meets 5 friends when he goes to the school in Pennsylvania, and one of them goes on to do very well in the NFL, but he's also tied to the murder mystery. And these guys' friendship bond, it never, ever ends. They all have their own twists and turns in their lives, but a lot of stories that not positive images of men, so I did want to create one with some positive images, but with the twists and turns. And then Raymond also, while he's at university, meets his soulmate, Brenda. That is, you'd have to read the story it's not what you would expect or anticipate, but you asked a question earlier and it just popped into my mind. Why, what's a reason to pursue your dream? Because if God gave it to you, it's never going away. And this earth is like it's a part of your DNA. It's not going away. And God wanted Raymond and Brenda together, but you had to read the story to see how things happen, but if it's meant to be, it generally will happen. But does it mean it's going to happen right away, or so? You'll see how that goes. But that's Love Pour Over Me. It's really a story about healing, and you can see for anybody who's gone through something tragic, especially in a childhood, over and over and over again, and then how to heal a heart that's absolutely been shattered. And the patience also has to do with patience. And there's a scene in the end of the book. The readers hated Raymond's father. I mean, they called him bad names. They just hated him. And at the end of the story, I would think that some readers would soften their view of Malcolm. But that Love Pour Over Me is about really the power of love in situations that aren't really neat and tidy.
Now, out of all of the books that you have written, and I kind of hate to ask you this particular question, like if you have a favorite one. So I won't ask you if you have a favorite book per se, but did you enjoy writing any of them a little bit more than you enjoyed writing another?
You know what's odd? Now, I really enjoyed Love Pour Over Me, but I'm working on a new book right now, God is Glory, and that's the working title. It's set in the 1940s in Chicago, and the woman is she does something that generally in that period, even now, only men do, and she's very good at it. But I would say the story that I'm currently writing on is generally the one because that's the one I'm the most emotionally connected to at that moment. The book of mine so far that readers talked about the most so far as was my first portion. And people told me that it was they said, oh, it's a classic. There's no other book like it. You did it. This book was first. And it's about a woman African-American woman dealing with breast cancer. And it's written in sort of like a memoir type of a book, but it's actually fiction. And that's a short book, about 100 pages. Love Pour Over Me is almost 300 pages. So I would say the book I work on now is always generally the one that, for that time, is my favorite.
And I can understand that because that's the one you're concentrating on. That's the one that really has your attention, and that's the one that you're giving your all to. Now, are your books written to stand alone, or are they all somehow kind of interconnected?
My books are all standalone books. I do know that talking about pursuing your dream while working a job, series books are a good platform or a good way to do that as a writer because you get the writer connected to the character. That is a must for any novelist. The reader must care about the character and what happens to the character. That is absolutely necessary. In a series book, once you do that, then the reader wants to know, okay, now what's going to happen next? And they can't wait for that next book in the series to come out. So you're building your readership. And a series book is a good way to do that. My books aren't series. They're like stand-alone books. Once the story's finished, it's done. So, no, I don't write. Once you finish reading one of my books, that's the end of the story. I've had people say to me, make it a series, continue the story. I'm like, no. Not yet. I haven't written a story yet that I felt like I wanted to turn into a series.
Continue, right?
Yeah, they all stand alone.
Well, Denise, thank you so much for being on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela today. I really appreciate your coming by and spending time with us today. Within the last minute or so of the show, just in case someone came on a little bit later, can you remind them where can they find your books and how can people get in contact with you?
Well, thank you, first of all. I appreciate you, the interview and the time here with you, and you're a great host, so I want to thank you for that, first of all. But people to get in touch with me or my books, the first place I would recommend is my website, chistel.com, CHISTELL.com. That's C as in Charlie, HISTELL.com. And then you can order the books directly through the website, and I use PayPal, or you can go through Amazon.com, ebookit.com, chriscity.com. I think some of my books are on Walmart.com. You can get some of the ebooks in other places as well. But and if you want a print copy and you don't see it in the stores, I always tell people, just ask the clerk for it. You want to get whatever the title is, Love Pour Over Me by Denise Turney, and they can order a copy for you because it's carried by the largest book distributors in the world, so you can get it wherever you are. And then also, if you want to keep in touch with me, I'm on Facebook and Twitter, and all you got to do is look up Denise Turney, and I'll come up.
All righty. Well, thank you, listeners, as well, for spending time with me here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. And as always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next week, have an awesome, awesome day, everyone. Bye-bye.